Hello and welcome to the Confusion Wrestling Podcast, the last bastion of independent wrestling. I'm your host, Rob Kammer, and this week I'm sitting down in the studio with Rynar the Hooligan, leading a war party throughout the Midwest, raiding and pillaging everything that can be, well, picked up and moved around and or destroyed. All that sort of good stuff. But before we sit down with Rynar, I just want to give a shout out to the incredible weekend of wrestling we had over in Western Illinois. Got to take part in two events that were just kind of, we'll call them pop-ups. They weren't affiliated with any official promotion, so to speak, but put together by the venue or for charity. So shout out to Beck Reeves, case closed, friend of the show, who let me travel out to Kewanee, Illinois at the Chrome Gypsy compound to see an evening of wrestling and a chance to reconnect and talk in person, which we never actually got to do, despite seeing him live at least once prior. It was cool catching up with him and talking to the wrestlers out there. And then the following evening, with friends of the show, the Ex-Bombers, went to the Artisan Reserve Ale House brewery. I've already blanked out on the name of that, but it was a really cool show for the local YMCA, featuring beef from Ring of Honor, in addition to Marche Rocket, Jeremiah Plunkett, a whole cast of excellent wrestlers to be had. Another evening of schmoozing, networking, however you want to call it. And of course, I mean, the biggest part is just getting to hang out with the Ex-Bombers friends of the show. Super cool folks to boot. And even took second place in the evening's trivia contest. So go Doss. Though probably would have done better if I didn't take the lead, believe it or not, because I totally bombed the tiebreaker at the end. But sometimes I sound like I know what I'm talking about, and that is to everyone's detriment. But hopefully not to our guests' detriment this episode. As I said, we were sitting down with Rynar the Hooligan, just talking about all things wrestling, bucket list items, how he got into the business, how hard it is to form a raiding party, the Great Heathen Army, if you will. So yeah, let's go ahead and take care of that. Let's of course, we got to get those pesky adverts out of the way so you can skip ahead 30 seconds or so. But in the meanwhile, get yourself a coffee, get yourself an energy drink, get yourself a whole gosh darn coffee maker, and I'll be back with Rynar the Hooligan. Hey folks, the Confusion Wrestling Podcast has become a veritable hub of shopping and treats and all that sort of good stuff. Whether you need a sugar-free alternative to energy drinks in the form of Raise Energy, or maybe even, top-of-the-line ice makers, coffee machines, and other household appliances, all through my links section. All you got to do is wander down to the descriptor of this week's episode, check out the various links, click on them, and go shopping like you normally would. Heck, it's no difference. You just came in and just said Rob sent you. And that way, you can get the things you need, maybe even at a discount, and the podcast gets a kickback as well. So be sure to check out those links. Thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, Confusion Wrestling Podcast. As I said at the top of the show, special guest sitting in the studio with me today, Odin's favorite son, Rynar the Hooligan. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How are you?
Oh, not too bad myself. I like to start off the podcast, as most of my listeners know. I always start things off with an always original question, never before asked in the history of wrestling podcasting, though. How did you get into professional wrestling? What made you a fan of the sport?
All right, man. So let's get into that one. What originally made me a fan of the sport was the late 1980s. I was a major little Hulk maniac. And I got away from it for a little while. Came back in right at the beginning of the Attitude Era. So, I mean, really the only thing I missed out on in that early mid 90s thing was maybe the death of the big, larger than life gimmicks. So it wasn't too bad. I got back in at the Attitude Era, and it was it was Stone Cold, Triple H, a little bit later, guys like Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, that inspired me to want to get in there and see if I had what it takes.
So you were a WWF boy?
For the most part, I mean, I watched a lot of ECW because like there was nothing like it at the time.
Oh yeah.
I watched a little WCW, but it seemed very, very watered down compared to the other products. I mean, once you watch, Tommy Dreamer getting caned and asking for another, Hulk Hogan's not really going to do it for you, brother.
Oh, that's fair. Like my best friend, he had to watch WCW because his parents viewed that as a bit more we'll call it child friendly. I don't know, PG, maybe better
Yeah,
rating of it. Like so he only got to sneak in WWF like if they weren't around or if he went to somebody's house. Though they let him have the games though. Like they didn't get a problem with him buying the video games. But I despite just as many crotch chops or whatever thing going to that.
right.
But the ECW part like interests me because like man, I wanted ECW for the longest time, but we didn't really get it in my chunk of the Midwest until they popped up on TNN, and then we could just argue how much of that was really ECW, considering the history of Paul Heyman versus the network at that time. But so like I just have to ask in that case, since I haven't had anyone really been there or watch it firsthand like that. It's like how formative was that for your kind of like childhood wrestling experience?
Um, First off, like it absolutely blew my mind. Like for a while there, every match was essentially a hardcore match. The rule book went out the window for the most part, and I was just like, yeah, like even if I can't like do the super technical stuff, like I could do that. That seems like it'd be easier. I mean, I'm super wrong. I know now, being in the business that like, give me the technical stuff all day long because I've done a few hardcore matches and I definitely felt them for days afterwards. But it was nice to be able to reach back and give that little kid that watched ECW, the nod, like, hey, you were wrong.
And this one, like, as I talk to wrestlers as part of the podcast and outside of the podcast as well, I think it's one of those like many things is like the armchair psychiatrist in me like loves is like hearing the differences between wrestlers and their preferences, like even with like in their within their stylings or preferred match types. Where because I'll talk to some and they're like, yeah, just I want to feel all the brawling. Give me all the weapons. Hit me as hard as you can with them. And then like other folks is like, nope. We like I only want to do like just a standard wrestling match. Whether we can then argue the sub styles, whether it's technical or still brawling, but we're not bringing in the weapons into play. And I think that's
Right.
just kind of interesting. You like, especially talking with some of the folks in the deathmatch scene. He's like, no, just give me all the light tubes, and I'm like, you crazy.
Yeah, I know a few deathmatch guys, and they are absolute maniacs. Like they come up with some of the weirdest spots. Like, yeah, staple me 7 times in the chest and then 1 in the face. I'm just like, yeah, you got a chair there. You can hit me with that. Like, I'll take that. That'll be okay. Until of course you're actually out there and in front of the crowd, your adrenaline's going, and you're just like, take it away and staple me too. Oh man. So like, yeah, it's an insane group of guys that do the deathmatch stuff. Being a brawler more myself than a technical wrestler, I like the contact. I like for it to look as good as it feels, if that makes sense. Because like I watched a lot of Bret Hart growing up, and like I watched him kick the British Bulldog in the face as hard as he could, and it looked awesome. And he was still able to get up and go through with the match. So like with the brawling style, that was something that I tried to like keep in mind. Is like you can do this and you can really lay this stuff in, but you can still do it safely. and hopefully not piss too many people off.
There you go. I always, when I hear things like that, I think about the story McFoley told about Terry Funk, how he always admired. Well, he always admired Terry Funk for the new listeners. Like obviously, like I won't say use. I'll use the word worship. Yeah, he practically worshipped Terry Funk, and they finally got to wrestle. But he especially like enjoyed like how good Terry's punches were. And then he finally got this. He's finally got the left hand jab, and as he put it, I realized I found out the secret to your punches, Terry. You just hit me as hard as you could.
Yeah.
And Terry's just like, you just thought I was good all this time.
Dude, I recently had the privilege of sharing a locker room with Mustafa Ali. And I definitely got to see why his stuff looks so good firsthand, because he was kicking the shit out of that dude. Okay, I can't say that dude. It was a guy that I trained with for a while. It was Jerry Morgan, but like he kicked the shit out of Jerry. It was kind of good to see. Love Jerry to death, but like he's a workhorse, and he finally got put in there with somebody that was just as much of a workhorse. So like, and man, dude, those Ali kicks, I do not envy him taking those. Those looked legitimately painful.
I mean, he's so smooth, and he throws in the high flying. You don't like think of him as like a guy who's like kind of a striker, but like for those of us Midwest wrestling nerds, like he came up in IWA Mid South. Like he came up with guys who hit hard, whether it was safe or not. And then even when he wasn't working with IWA, he was still mixing up with guys like John Moxley and whatnot, who are excellent strikers in their own right. And so dude's learned from everywhere he's been, and he's got a lot of life experience.
Absolutely. But like his punches looked really good. Those kicks, those drop kicks, next level, dude. He was, and you're right, he was so smooth. Like that, it was a privilege to watch him kick the shit out of my buddy.
Yeah, he's a guy like I as I've gotten older appreciate more, but I think it's just because like dating myself here, when he first came into the business, when he first kind of came into the things, being a Muslim and of of Arabic descent, like leaned into the racism gimmicks, and like even at that young age, I was kind of like, like yeah, it's kind of funny to like say you'll raise the gas prices on me, but like low hanging fruit, man. And I know it's wrestling. I need to shut off that part of my brain. Like you didn't go into the like full on some of the other stereotypes, but like some of that stuff, like and that kind of like
he went for the low hangers.
Yeah. Which now, like looking back through the magic of like say IWTV, just like blows away. Like, oh yeah, he did that. He was doing that kind of stuff way back. And then like having the young Sydney Bacabella hang out with them too was also kind of a sight to be seen. When Joey Eastman, so crazy go nuts. But Tyra, influences aside, so what made you finally decide to cross the guardrail, so to speak, and get trained yourself?
Statistically speaking, it was a midlife crisis. Apparently, according to the current numbers, you go through your midlife crisis in your mid to late 30s. I was going through a lot, and I happened to cross a guy who decided he wanted to try his hand at opening a wrestling school and wrestling company, and I helped him get everything facilitated, and I was like, all right, here's how we do it. I went in there, and for 14 months I trained alongside the rest of the guys until my trainer Jason Static was like, yeah, you're good to go. But that midlife crisis right there, like I just recently gone through a pretty messy divorce, and I had a lot of pent up energy, and I was kind of angry, and I figured as a wrestling fan, I could probably turn all that into something of a gimmick. I never did. Things changed as I trained. But yeah, I think if I had to narrow it down to one specific thing, it would be a midlife crisis.
Hey, I mean, whatever gets you there at the end of the day. Like I had David Lawless on the program, and basically he wasn't going through a divorce anyway, but his midlife crisis was like he's an attorney by trade, and then just went like, all of my coworkers and everybody I talk to is absolutely miserable. Like it's like this, they don't have any souls anymore, and not because of the line of work, just the stress and all that stuff. Like I'm gonna go I'm going to go find myself a new hobby, and like I'm a wrestling fan, and there's a school nearby. Why not? And so like that was just kind of his midlife. Like I need to do something to keep from dying inside. Hey, there's wrestling. So
Yeah, pretty much, man. It was one of those things where, like, I've always wanted to do it. When the chance presented itself, I was like, all right, screw it, let's do this.
And as an as an older trainee, like, do you think that was like any rougher on you, or dare I say like more eye opening towards like what goes into wrestling, or were you just already kind of a natural athlete, and so it wasn't near as bad as you think it may be?
For me, it wasn't as bad as it was for some people, but that was just strictly for the fact that, like, I watched it for so long, and whenever I was a teenager, like 14 to 16 years old, I was a backyard wrestler with my buddies. And we learned a few things watching TV. So, like, I didn't go in completely blind, but I really had no idea what I was doing. And you'll never feel older than training with like a 17-year-old kid that looks like Fabio, and he's just burning through everything. You're dying on the mat being like, God, I hate you. You're a genetic freak. So yeah, there was definitely more hurdles being an older trainee, because everybody else was able to pick things up, pretty quick. I had trouble with some, mostly with like movement. And when I say movement, I mean the fact that I've not been very kind to my body over my life. So like the balls to the wall speed that most guys have is not gonna happen. Like I pinched a sciatic nerve in my back whenever I was, God, I don't know, 19 years old. So like that super high, motor style of wrestling was definitely out of reach. I mean, I conditioned myself. I learned how to go, but that one was the biggest hurdle, was learning to work around the previous injuries heading into it.
I think that would be even more difficult, just kind of like starting the party with it, because like so much of what we do, speaking from experience as well, and I'm not even a real athlete, or well, okay, let's face it, I'm not even an athlete at all. 12-ounce curls is usually where I'm at, man. But just like doing almost anything, just like trying to avoid like already pre-existing injuries, or the wear and tear we've done on our bodies is rough to begin with. And I hate to think of just like trying to learn landing safely, and some of the stuff that's done just for cardio, like looking at like the burpees, and just I was squats partner like kill me thinking about it.
Yeah, the squats were one of my killers. The biggest killer I have are the high knees in the corner.
Oh.
I hated high knees in the corner. I hated the side straddle run, 5 laps around the ring, then switch to a regular run for 5 laps, and then side straddle for 5 more. Like, my trainer was a little bit of a sadist. He really enjoyed gassing us out, and then making us push ourselves further than we thought we could. Because there were a few times whenever we'd be gassed out from the warm up, from the calisthenics, from the rolling, the stretching, everything, and he's just like, all right, you guys getting tired? Let's get in the ring and work. I can't Yes, you can. If you couldn't, you wouldn't be. Come on. So that was pretty cool of him to see it inside of everybody that he was training, especially.
Oh, I like they use the phrase like you wouldn't be here if you couldn't. So like he may have been a jerk about things, as a lot of coaches are, but like he still gave you that pat in the back to like it sucks now, but you got this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that he was negative, but you were more likely to get it wasn't bad. But whenever he would see guys definitely starting to mentally break down from the grind of it, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. No, you can do this, because if you couldn't do this, you wouldn't be here and you wouldn't have made it this far already. So do it. He was real big on it's a lot of mental blocks in wrestling that stop us from moving forward.
Oh, I mean, just seeing the trajectory of people's like careers and like the where are they now's kind of thing. Like I totally buy that, and I've heard many stories of just like, yeah, like training was cool. It was it was this thing that turned me off, and now I'm just going to go back to whatever it is I was doing prior to wrestling, or I was planning on getting into prior to wrestling, or the people who take breaks and whatnot. Like everything else in life, like there's a chunk of them being willing to just to go through with things, and having the confidence either in yourself or within the system just to follow through with it.
Absolutely.
But you referenced the backyard wrestling, so I do have to ask, like, were you always Rynar even in the backyard days, or did you have something fully different to go by?
No, way back then I was something way different, and that poor fella died. But it was a good foundation for learning how to build what became Rynar. And if I'm going to be honest, I did bring one move with me, and that is the tag team finisher for the Great Heathen Army, the Warhammer, the wheelbarrow facebuster bulldog. It was the only thing, and I was just like, that's pretty cool. That could probably still work.
Oh, I love a good wheelbarrow, and there's everybody wants to do like a wheelbarrow lung blower. Like at least you do something different with it. So that's stand out a wee bit.
It's that was the whole thing, because I've seen a lot of people do wheelbarrow moves, and it's like the Edge and Christian wheelbarrow splash or the wheelbarrow lung blower. I'm just like, if I can hold these guys up long enough, and I've held up a couple of pretty big guys, if I can wheelbarrow them and get them up here long enough, I guarantee you, Rixer or Kolthar can run through here with a bulldog, and we can make it look great. And luckily, I was right.
There you go. And again, like kind of going with that, like, it's always having a good, like, flashy is always great, but like you need a move that you can kind of hit anywhere on anyone. And as you put it, if you can get them up just for long enough for the bulldog, like you got yourself an effective finish right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had a few guys be like, you couldn't get me up for that. All it takes, 2 seconds. 2 seconds to get you off your feet. It's all over.
And if you got the synergy down, you know the timing of it. Like you don't have to hold them up there forever. You just long enough for your partner, whichever partner it is, to see that guy go up and ready to go.
Absolutely.
But since we're on the topic, because we're just going to jump all over the place with no real timeline of these things. But since we've already brought up the Heathen Army, how did you guys kind of like get together? How did you guys find that common cause to join up?
So originally, the Great Heathen Army had started in training. My tag team partner Rixer trained with me, and we realized that he and I had kind of created really similar gimmicks. And we both had the thought, like, well, the Vikings had the Great Heathen Army, and it was a collection of all these different Viking clans from across Norway, and they were truly a force to be reckoned with. So we decided we were going to start a Great Heathen Army in professional wrestling as we try to branch out and get more heathens from across the U.S.
And I've noticed it kind of like with, I don't know, we'll call it kind of like a personnel listing or a roster listing. Like you've got yourself kind of quite the crew going on there. And I always kind of like wonder when like the stables get together, like specifically kind of thematically, if you will, like how difficult it is to get like a group like that together, because like just getting anyone together is like herding cats, but let alone someone like, or a group thematically speaking, to kind of go on, we'll call them raiding parties at this point. Like how difficult is that?
It's been kind of difficult because we set a certain criteria for the people that we're looking for within the wrestling industry for the Great Heathen Army. We've had a few members join. One's left us. But I mean, right now we're still set at a total of 5 members. So for a while we had Maddie Monarch until she went out last January with a shoulder injury and wasn't too certain on her return. So we ended up dropping her from the group, and that's whenever we happened across Fenrir Ragnarok and Harley Fairfax, the former Wrestling for Cure Tag Team Champions. And they were brought into the Great Heathen Army when we did a show up in Indiana for Fantastic League of Wrestling, and I needed an extra Viking. And unlike the myth, Fenrir came out of the smoke, and he really helped us that night. Ever since then, the Shield Wall and the Great Heathen Army have been linked as one.
Right on. And kind of being a Midwest guy, like the Midwest is kind of rife with Viking folk or Viking adjacent folk, at least people who've done a tour of duty, returning to their roots, so to speak. Like I don't know well, I guess I do kind of know what the area, because like we do have like a large Scandinavian population around these here parts. So
absolutely,
I was just about to act like I don't know what's going on here, when like last weekend I was in a Swedish colony. Like I know what's going on here.
It's
but like that is always like blows my mind, like the people like who like it's, and again, it's a Midwestern thing. Like you've done tours of duty at various points as Vikings, like even looking at one warhorse started the party out as the littlest Viking before getting metal on us.
I think Rixer may be a legitimate contender to the littlest Viking title.
That's fair too. Mr. Parnell Warhorse hasn't referred to himself as the smallest Viking in probably a decade, because we're old and time means nothing anymore.
No.
But his buddy Herzog's still running around these here parts, kind of from like St. Louis to Northern Illinois.
Yeah, Herzog is all over the place. I've unfortunately not had the pleasure of wrestling him, but I would really be curious to see how Herzog handles Rynar.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody who's booking, we got ourselves a dream match coming up right there. Somebody's got to make it happen.
I mean, it would definitely be a dream match for me. I followed his career while I was training. Like, who's this dude? And you see him wrestling, you're like, all right, this dude's great. Just it's kind of funny that he and the Great Heathen Army, in really any capacity, never really crossed paths. Although I did watch him lay a beating on possibly Reinhardt's greatest nemesis, and that's Eagle Eye.
Yeah, that's kind of weird that you guys haven't crossed paths that much. I mean, granted, I guess Illinois is like a big state, and that's just covering like the Illinois region and not moving into the other chunks of the Midwest, whether it's Missouri or Indiana or whatnot. But
Right.
like, it's something I have to explain to sometimes people. Is just like, yeah, no, I live in Illinois, but it still takes me like 4 hours, when we start talking traffic and whatnot, to get down to like St. Louis. And the St. Louis is not even the southernmost part of the state. There's
Right.
there's at least another like, quarter of a state at least for me to get through yet. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm an hour south of St. Louis. So
yeah, and that's just going north south. We haven't talked east west yet, and like throwing out like in my case, like Chicago's like 2.5 hours more. If we want to throw out traffic or what part of Chicago I want to talk at, but that's life of road warring right there. But like, I shouldn't be lecturing a wrestler on being a road warrior.
You get it. Like if you've been out on the road for any length of time, you're a road warrior. You get it. I don't think to earn that title you have to be let me sit in the car for 16 hours type of guy.
I mean, if I get to like pat myself on the back, my stint in child welfare like gave me the road warrior label, if nothing else, because Lord knows I had like my service area was twice the size of our supposed to be service area, so I was all over the state of Illinois doing child welfare stuff with other stuff. So, but that's
you're a road warrior. You get it, man.
Yeah. Oh no, I have, much to the wife's chagrin, lived in my car practically at various points. So,
right. Whether you're doing it for that or whether you're stuffed in there with a bunch of guys and a bunch of bags, it's all the same.
Yeah, nope. I get it, and I've talked with some folk, and they've half jokingly think like that's one of the reasons why like a lot of like the Midwest scene doesn't kind of get some of the notoriety like some of like the East Coast kind of does, is just because the notable promotions in the area are so far apart. I mean, there's like 7 hours if we just want to toss out names between like any of the Chicago promotions and First Wrestling in Minnesota, and even more so if we want to wander down to say like Pro Wrestling Epic or St. Louis Anarchy, and and that's just, those are major companies. I'm not even thinking of like the hundreds of smaller companies that are roaming the landscape of independent wrestling here in this area. But like just the fact that you have to drive that far for one big air quotes booking, like whereas like on the East Coast, like 3 hours can get you into some pretty notable territories.
Absolutely. I got a buddy out on the East Coast, and dude, he sees some pretty good shows out there.
Oh, and the thing is like, and the taking a big picture, I mean, that's the beauty of kind of wrestling right now, is that like it's so accessible, and like the desire to see it outside of the big leagues, outside of AEW and WWE, like is great. Like I bring people on from all over the country that have no idea how I found them, and the answer is always social media. But but just like, I'm not familiar with the scene, but like, and they'll give me like the rundown of it, and it's just like amazing, like how like like there's a big scene forming in like Colorado, and it's great to hear. Of course, like LA's got its own kind of thing going on, but like NorCal's got some stuff going on, and Washington, and like we're not even going to touch like Texas, which is its own breeding ground. Like it's just
dude, Texas, they pop up all the time in Texas.
Yeah, like it's crazy, but like on the other hand, it is very much great to see that wrestling is alive and well, like basically wherever you are in the state. I won't speak for the country. I won't speak for the world, but at least the U.S. It's thriving.
I mean, I know it's starting to pick up and thrive in places like France. I got a buddy out there that all I could ever watch was WWE products, and now there's like 3 or 4 companies running out there.
Yeah, and what else? Just I can't think of all the nations, but like the Pacific Islands are starting to kind of like pick up too, and get their own thing going. I know I've had Argus D'Artois on, and he's been popping up in the Philippines and Thailand quite a bit. and he can't put over the experience enough of just like how starved people were for wrestling over there. They finally just said, "F it, like there's enough of us.
Right.
Let's build it up."
Yeah.
And so they got this fledgling scene going on, and he said it's amazing over there just to be part of it firsthand.
Like I'm not even gonna lie, I would love to go over and do something with soft ground wrestling. Those
Oh
dudes are incredible and starting literally on the ground.
yeah.
Like, all right, dude, that you guys are tough. I'll give you your respect. I will raid with you.
They may call it soft ground, but there was really no such thing as soft ground.
No. The ground is hard everywhere,
man. But that being said, like I don't always like go. It's like, oh, where do you want to wrestle? But like since we've already kind of like brought up the international scene in soft ground, like do you have like an international checklist that you want to achieve before you hang up the boots?
There's a few places that I want to go, and all these places have been recommended to me by friends, by people that I've met online. Usually people that are formerly in the industry or currently in the industry, but I want to get over and check out the UK scene. I've got a buddy over there that is retired medically, neck injury, but like he's always like, dude, you need to get over here. Your style's going to go over great, this and that. Mexico, just because I've always been a fan of lucha. Definitely want to mark Japan off my list. Yeah, I think those would really be about the big ones. Any place else would be absolutely awesome. But I think that's my big checklist of like, yeah, I want to go to at least these three places before I hang it up.
Right on. Actually, now that you like bring it up, like, yeah, I think you'd kill it in Britain, just with some of the things that like some of the companies have kind of popped up that way. The combination of your presentation and your style, like, if it'd be something, it's just different, like just different enough to stand out without necessarily being like a full on styles clash.
Yeah, that's that's what I would hope for, at least. But like, he's always telling me like, it's the brawling style that's over there right now. It's like if you're a good brawler, the crowd's going to eat it up. And I mean, I might not be the best brawler, but we can really go out there and fight each other if you're cool with it. Like, if you're not going to get mad, like we can go. I'm perfectly okay with that. Let's go have some fun, buddy.
I mean, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be really good. Let's be realistic here.
Right. You don't have to be the best. Just a notch below it.
I mean, if you're the best, you might price yourself out of getting over that. Over there.
That's true. I'm shooting for mediocre. But yeah, that would be the number one place, because like Japanese strong style is super interesting. But I know that after a match like that, I'm gonna know that I got my ass kicked the night before. And I'm perfectly okay with that. For the most part, like 60% of the time. So yeah, I want to do it, but at the same time, I'm like, that shit's gonna hurt a lot the next day. Do we really want to do it? Yes, but with a slight hesitation.
Well, if it's just a bucket list thing, like yeah, get in, a quick tour, get out.
Yeah, quick tour, go over there. Let's do it. I'm not. I do have a death match on that bucket list. Not the biggest fan of them, because I did some really stupid shit when I was younger. But like with the right opponent, absolutely, I would do a death match.
I feel like that's a bucket list item for a lot of wrestlers who like have in general no interest in death matches, but like they just want to say they did it, and then never again, unless
like I know a steel cage match would take years off of the career that I have left ahead of me. Still want to do it. Because like if you're a wrestler, why would you not want to do a steel cage match? those things are always iconic in a good or a bad way. So I mean, at least you're still hitting the iconic mark.
There you go. I would love like, and no, like almost no place does it anymore just because it's so archaic and I think cost prohibitive. But like the old school, like WWF cages, like the big blue cage. Like I'm not even a wrestler, and if I could somehow like fit myself into a big blue cage match, like
exactly, you're just like, I got to do this. Right. Yeah,
I'm not trained. I'll just stand in the corner and be, a bad manager. That's what I'll do. And then I don't know. You can give me like one shove into the cage wall, and I'll concuss myself because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'll just lay down the rest of the time happy as my brains are scrambled. It'll be fine.
I mean, at least you'll think you're happy with as much of it as you can remember.
Is it real happiness or is it the concussion? We'll never know. But at the end of the day, as long as I was happy, it's fine.
Right. He's smiling. That's all that matters.
I worked residential. Like, yeah, I've probably taken concussions with a smile on my face. It's fine.
Absolutely. It'll be all right.
The blue cage. No, like I get it. And I think it's like, and it's one of those again play like our armchair psychiatrist. And I think it was interesting. It was like, just to do it once. Like, yeah, I want to take the light tube once just to do it. Like, I'll never want to do it again. And then it's like the weird folks who like, they do it that once. And then just like, once every like 5 years or so, we'll do it again. Like I look at Ultramantis Black, like forever didn't do it, but then just like randomly he was in Carnage Cup. That's the one it was. Like just randomly in the Carnage Cup for like no good reason, and then like didn't touch it again until like just randomly like kind of like popping up for GCW, just
right,
just out of nowhere doing that stuff. Or some of the stuff he's done with Tim Donst since then has kind of wandered off into that territory. But of course, Tim Donst for us nerds, like also like I will not so brief sojourn into the realm of hardcore and deathmatch wrestling in his own right before he kind of I don't know, at this point we'll call it semi-retired because he definitely wasn't gone long enough to say he retired.
No, not at all.
But I think it's one of those like things that's great. Again, talk about how great wrestling is. I think it's great because like the wrestling is so wild and varied. Like we could have this like crazy bucket list that at a certain level, like, okay, blue cage might be hard to come by, but a lot of that stuff like, is attainable if if you're, willing to put the work in or keep your eyes and ears open or just talk to the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if honestly, most wrestlers, if they've seen the match on WWE and it impacted them in any way, shape, or form, they want to do that match. They have thought about it for years. They have planned each and every second. They want to do it, like like the death match, the steel cage. I'm gonna have to go yes and no on like ladder match because I've done a ladder match, but it was 7-man triple threat tag team. So there was a whole lot going on. I mean, I want to do a dog collar match. I want to do a last man standing match. Like the matches that I watched as a kid that I was just like, wow, this is so cool. They're on that list. They got to be.
Oh yeah. Like for my take, like I don't know, I feel like that's the best kind of ladder match to have is just the one where you got 5-6 other people just running around as yourself. But I'm also terrified of heights and don't like the thought of climbing a ladder. And if there's 6 other people around me, I don't have to climb the ladder. I can just Terry Funk helicopter it.
I'm afraid of heights, and I did have to climb the ladder. You got to just be like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Oh God, it sucks.
And see, like I'm much a wimp. Like I think I have to think to myself, like, which is worse? Like I know logically what is worse, but phobia is not rational. If it was rational, we probably it wouldn't be a phobia. But I'm thinking like, what's worse, climbing up, say like your Jeff Hardy 20-foot ladder, or the fall off of it, possibly onto said ladder as well. And like
by the 12-foot mark, my knees are shaking.
Oh, and then especially like I mean, in indie ladders too, where like I've seen so many ladder matches like basically end with the referee holding up the ladder.
Uh, yeah, man. The one ladder match I did, TNT actually broke one of the ladders just trying to climb up it on both sides.
Although most ladders aren't supposed to be climbed from the other side, especially ones on the indie budget. But
right, that was a $179 lesson I learned.
And like it's one of the like the little things like I think about. It's like insane now is what we think of ladder matches, and think of like Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon like only had 2 ladders in their match. Basically, they had the weapon ladder and the ladder they were using, and now like especially like given like the shaky natures of ladders in general, like you almost need like 5 of them just to make sure one of them functions properly to so you can climb it.
Yeah, man. I believe the one that was used at the end of the match was one of those like adjustable ladders. Like, you know, it can be like a straight up painter's ladder, or it can fold at this point and be a double-sided ladder. Like, if we wouldn't have had it, the match would have been ruined. We'd have been sitting on each other's shoulders trying to get the bells down. Because, man, I'll tell you, like, it held for a second. It held. They were both standing there, and they were just under the belts, and then that leg, it bent, and then it bowed, and they both came down at the same time. That ladder died a horrible death about a month later, as it was exploded by Ricky Cruz and Playboy Double H. So yeah, it was definitely one of the most, I guess, unexpected things that I had happen during a match like that. Like, I really didn't expect one of the legs to like shatter.
We're live, pal. You can't fix that in post.
No. It's like, oh damn, how are we gonna do this? Oh wait, we have the mighty ladder. The mighty ladder's the winner, man.
Yeah. Though I mean, as just for the sake of novelty, like I think I would have also liked to see the electric chair position, just being on top of someone's shoulders and yanking down the title that way, just because no one would see it coming.
So I have a habit personally of whenever I'm booked for a match, whenever I get brought in, I want to know the match. I want to know the time limit. I don't want to know the finish until I get there, because I want my mind to go crazy with all these different scenarios of how it's going to end and how we can get there. And sometimes I get there and I'm just like, all right, this is great. So we got there that night, and they're like, okay, so I think on that night the fam may have taken them, or yeah, I think the fam took them that night. And I was just like, well, you know, if they're going to put them on us tonight, Rixer's going to stand on my shoulders. So we don't need a ladder. We're Vikings. We are a ladder. But yeah, they ended up going with TNT that night, or not TNT, with the fam that night. It was a really fun match. Oh wait, hold on. Let me drop a plug. You can see it on the NGW Unlimited app. And you can judge it for yourself. But you'll definitely be able to watch that ladder give out underneath TNT and have yourself a chuckle on why this brand new ladder just broke like a piece of crap.
I know. Beauty of wrestling. I got to watch Ultimate X match, and just like early TNA, the X came down. And I mean, to pull back the curtain, this company didn't have earpieces for the referees or anything. That's like, so no one was out there like shouting, like properly shouting instructions into somebody's ear. Like someone had to like sneak down and like covertly like Iggy, one of the like the ref, like the ring announcer just like snuck over and like conversed really quick, and then it just still like somehow was still kind of a cluster. And I had one of the participants of the match on, and he talked about like how like it was a struggle because like they were trying to figure out like what they were doing, and like he's just like, we should just play football with the X. Like that's what I was suggesting. And no one like you got to have full control of the X for when the count. So like somebody would touch it, and then they'd get hit, and the X would just like plop up, and they'd run after it or whatever. And that was vetoed for just a standard. Oh, this match is now a 6-way scramble or whatever. And even then he said like, I ended the match early because I didn't know what was going on, and I stopped caring by this point in the cluster, and I said, your finish is now in Zaguri, and took a kick to the head and just stayed down. Like the person who quote unquote was supposed to won, but he's just like, nope, I don't know what's going on. Like, this isn't cool. Like how it's being relayed to me. I'm just getting hit in the head and dropping now. It's fine.
Right. This is not what we're supposed to be doing.
And then on top of it, like, then he asked me like what I thought of the match because I was in the crowd watching. I'm like, dude, you're gonna make me like sound like I'm burying the company doing this, and like I'm not. I don't want to bury the company because I actually enjoy the company, and the rest of the card up until that point, up until that cluster, was great. And but you can only do so much when things literally break on you. What are you going to do? Things can and will fall apart. At least in this case, it fell apart in a way where nobody got hurt.
Absolutely.
So, small victories on that front. But anyway, I feel like that anecdote's a great way to kind of wind things down because I've had you on here for a bit. So I will end things with, where can we find you in the upcoming weeks, and where can we find you online or social media or merch or whatever else you want to promote in the last few minutes?
All right. So you can find me on Facebook at Rynar the Hooligan, TikTok at Rynar Official, Instagram at Rynar_the_Hooligan, because I had to be difficult with that one. You can grab merch from me at any show. You can also go to my pro wrestling tee store, also at Rynar Official. And if you want to come out and cheer or boo your least favorite Viking, you can catch me in August at IEW. The date of that show is escaping me right now, but I can tell you it's going to be a wonderful triple threat against myself, Sid Manson, and for the first time, PT Beckham. August 15th, you can catch me at New Genesis Wrestling. And then September 11th, you can catch me again at New Genesis Wrestling.
All right. And if I'm doing my due diligence as a host, I'll at least try to get the social media links in the descriptor, even though for whatever reason, the websites that host it never let you click on them. You got to copy and paste them like you're old. But luckily, I'm old, so it doesn't hurt my feelings down to do things like that. But Rynar, thank you for coming onto the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
The Confusion Wrestling Podcast is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and hosted by Spotify for podcasters. The background music for this section is Ruined by Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to help support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is helpful as well, because word-of-mouth advertisement is very important for us small podcasts. My social media links can be found in the description, but Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky are at The Nova of Cass. That's TheNovaofCass, and Facebook is MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, please check out my virtual tip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova, or if you prefer more bang for your buck, go to patreon.com/Casanova, that's CASSONOVA, where for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, Chris Zach, and Elenia, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast store on Teespring. Also, be sure to check out the affiliate links in the description below. For business inquiries such as ads, sponsorships, and etc., please email rzkamer, Kamerer, at comcast.net. Thank you all for listening.